What up guys, I am welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be reacting to Did Elon just expose this? Let's get into it.
It's the news. Whether it's buying or not buying Twitter, robots that move about like Joe Biden, or trying to solve the Russia-Ukraine war, Musk is a news machine. So is he right? Is he wrong? Should we listen to him? He's coming on our show. Guess which side we're on.
Thank you for choosing Fox News.
No, here's the Fox News.
Hello there, you 6 million awakening wonders. Thank you for making it a nice round number. We appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for following us here. Remember to subscribe. Remember to turn on the notification bell. And now join us every day on Rumble, not Bumble, perverts, not Rubble, which will be what's created if these wars go ahead, on Rumble, streaming every day at this time. In-depth looks at the stories that the mainstream media will not tell you. New perspectives, brilliant experts, beyond left, beyond right. Let's get into today's news. Elon Musk did a poll presenting a potential solution to the current conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Like all people, my sympathies lie with those suffering as a result of this conflict. So that's just my opinion, so you know. But Elon Musk is presenting potential solutions and is facing a backlash as a result, not least from President Zelensky himself. Let's have a look at this story in detail and ask ourselves a few fundamental questions. 1. Does Elon Musk have the right to say whatever he wants? 2. Should people be looking at potential diplomatic solutions to this current conflict? And 3. What do we mean when we say we support Ukraine? Are we to assume that we mean support Ukraine up to and including a nuclear conflict? I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I'm saying that if we are going to, then we should be aware that that's what we're doing. Because there's a difference between changing the picture in your bio, putting a sticker in your window, and living in a post-apocalyptic hellscape. So, I'm not saying don't do that. Some things are worth dying for. Some things are worth dying for. But you should know that that's what you're doing. On Monday, Elon Musk prompted an online row with Ukraine's president after he asked Twitter users to weigh in on his ideas to end Russia's war. Now, some of you will say, well, who's Elon Musk? Who does he think he is? And Elon Musk is a unique figure in our culture. Part Steve Jobs, part Donald Trump, part Richard Branson. What is this guy? Elon Musk is a figure that could only exist now, evidently a genius in a number of areas. He's doubtless a controversial and polarizing figure. He garners affection and following that no other billionaires do. Why is that? But he also attracts criticism that no other corporate and potentially invisible powerful billionaire figures attract. Why is that? What is the meaning of Elon Musk? In a tweet, Musk suggested UN-supervised elections in 4 occupied regions that Moscow has falsely annexed after what it called referendums. If you're going to have an election, make...
Well, that's true. Okay, I don't know. That can be facts, because if you're saying that people have been taken by a state that doesn't want them, you give the people the choice, and then being like, do you want to be part of Russia? Do you want to be part of Ukraine? Where do you stand? The people choose, because governments represent people, right?
Make sure it's properly run and that all the votes are correctly counted and there's absolutely no skullduggery. Right, kids? The votes were denounced by Kiev and Western governments as illegal and coercive. Not only was it illegal, you forced people to do it. Russia leaves if that is the will of the people, Musk wrote. Okay, seems like a sensible selection. I'm certainly not claiming to be an expert on that complex geopolitical situation. We've done numerous videos about the history of the region, NATO escalation, potential sabotage. We've done lots of videos on this subject. And I just want to clarify again and again, my sympathy lies with people that suffer as a result of war, full stop. The Tesla chief executive also suggested that Crimea, which Moscow seized in 2014, be formally recognized as Russia, that water supply to Crimea be assured, and that Ukraine remain neutral. He asked Twitter users to vote yes or no to his idea. So far, it seems to me that a powerful figure is using his platform in order to provoke debate. Now, I suppose, up to this point, how can you disagree with that? Do you want the Twitter sphere and the world of Instagram to be entirely limited to profanity and idiocy and inanity? Oh, Happy Meals, football in space. I'm quite interested in that football in space. And Happy Meals. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky weighed in on Twitter and asked with a poll, which Elon Musk do you like more? One who supports Ukraine or one that supports Russia? So obviously that he's agitated by that response. And what we're being invited to do there, I would say, is like, for me, Zelensky seems like a heroic figure. Didn't he used to be a comedian? Now he's running a country. You can see why I'd be into that idea. But also with Zelensky, if you look at what's being asked there, is for blind, unquestioning support. Now, I don't think blind, unquestioning support is a good idea sort of ever. I mean, even if it was a member of your family or something, like, I'm going to blindly and unquestioningly, you might do that emotionally. You might say, I don't even care if they murder someone, I'm just going to love them till the end of time. But some people, you would hope, would remain objective and neutral in that situation.
Exactly. Like, you can't just expect people to roll with what you're saying, man. Like, there's a war happening, and what we do know in war, man, somebody's benefiting and somebody's losing. And the sense is, sometimes we have to look at it like, man, look who's losing their lives, who are at the front lines. And at some point, you can't just say to people, hey, the solution is we'll fight till death. It's like, why are we fighting till death when we can talk about this, when we can have other solutions that end this thing? Because what we want is for it to end. Like, the goal is not for us to fight forever. The goal is for us to have a solution to the problem that we're having right now. So, yeah, man, I agree with Elon.
Ultimately, don't all of us want that war to end? Ultimately, don't all of us want a peaceful solution? Ultimately, don't all of us want the individuals of this world and the communities of this world to be free from suffering and for people to have the ability to run their own lives?
Yeah.
I know that's what I want. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. Now we are in a complex conflict that is becoming more conflict that doubtlessly involves certain financial interests and imperialist interests on both sides of the argument. It seems, from my perspective as an uninformed observer, that Putin does not respond well to escalation. He doesn't behave like an ordinary strategist. Given that he's a Russian and they are famously great at chess, he don't seem to be like a Kasparov-like figure. You do this, then I do that. You do this, then I do that. He's more like, I'll bite my finger off. Like, so when you're dealing with someone like that, you can say, well, I've got principles. I'm going to carry on with my principles. Or you can say, what's likely to be best for the planet overall? Now, I think Elon Musk probably has such expertise, excellence, brilliance, and ingenuity in so many areas. Oh, people want cars to be like this, do them like that. People want rockets to be like this, do them like that. People want flamethrowers, people want... He's got to come up with so many ideas, and people seem so interested in his opinions that it's perfectly natural, I imagine, for him to say, well, how would you solve this conflict? I mean, don't all of us do it? But it seems what he's proposing is a potential diplomatic solution that would put an end to the conflict. And if he's like, well, we don't want to capitulate to a bully. Yeah, well, this isn't school. This is like a potential nuclear war.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying don't support Ukraine up to and including nuclear Armageddon. Maybe that is your position. If it is your position, declare that. I don't care if there's a nuclear war. I've put the sticker in the window. I've changed the picture in the bio, and if it means that all our pets die in the garden and for 50 years the soil is untillable, I am willing to die for it. That's a question that I think you need to sit with.
Sponsorship.
Hey, have you...
Yeah, that's a tough question to live with, because it's like, are you willing for us to have a nuclear war over this situation, or are you willing to come up with solutions whereby people can actually sit down and have a viable conversation? Especially when you realize that the person that you're fighting with is unreasonable and doesn't understand and will fight tooth and nail to achieve whatever set goal they have. At a certain point, it stops being about winning. It just becomes about the dialogue and conversation of how we can progress and move forward. What's done has been done. Now, how do we progress past where we are at? Which I think is a valid thought to have. No, what you think? Let me know in the comment section.
Have you noticed that big tech companies are now masquerading as privacy companies? Just fix your privacy settings. And then what's the reality of Musk's views and actions in the Ukraine-Russia conflict? Well, this is interesting. In a response to the criticism, Musk said he continues to support Ukraine, but he fears the Kremlin will eventually escalate and trigger a nuclear war if the fight expands to Crimea, which Russia currently controls. As evidence of his support for Ukraine, he pointed to SpaceX funding of Starlink in the country, an internet network. SpaceX's out-of-pocket cost to enable and support Starlink in Ukraine is $80 million so far. Our support for Russia is $0. Obviously, we are pro-Ukraine, he wrote in a tweet. So, on that basis, if it's true, seems like he's pro-Ukraine and he's got an opinion that's pro-diplomacy. And the real problem is that there's a very simple line that you're supposed to toe around this subject, which focuses on the thing that's obvious. The suffering of Ukrainian people is bad. That's obvious. That's called phatic. That's when something is so obvious, you don't need to say it. It's obvious that. So what he's trying to do is open discourse into areas that are more complex. Now, do you want to just focus on the Happy Meals and the football in space, or are you a grown-up? Me? It's a bit of both, actually. I want the Happy Meals and the football in space, and I want to be a grown-up. I don't want to be tyrannised into dumbness by a state and centralised big tech alliances with the state that see me as an idiot, just want me to eat my mush. potentially in space. Trying to retake Crimea will cause massive death, probably fail, and risk nuclear war. This will be terrible for Ukraine and Earth, which I believe is where we all live. So there you go. That's certainly an interest.
Yeah, and I'm with Elon here. Like, at a certain point, it's like, listen, man, we're at war. This war has to end. How does the war end? What does Vladimir want? What do we want? How do we make the compromises? And is he willing to compromise? No. Will this affect the whole globe? At a certain point, you're like, and how? Because the main thing is we have to stop the suffering of the people of Ukraine, who stand to benefit nothing in these wars, man. Like, listen, whether Ukraine wins the war, a lot of people have lost their lives, a lot of people have lost their land, and there's a lot of rebuilding that has to happen in Ukraine at this very time. And the more these conflicts escalate, the more challenges we have, man. Like, this thing has to end. I remember when it started, like in early January, February, and we all thought, oh yeah, it's gonna be a 3-week, yeah, because I think Putin came and was like, yeah, this is just going to be a 3-week exercise and we'll be out. But it's almost a year now. At a certain point, it has to stop.
Perspective from Elon Musk. This is George Beebe from Responsible Statecraft. Elon Musk is right. Perhaps not in the particulars of the peace settlement for Ukraine that he recently proposed for his millions of Twitter followers. Such a settlement can only be determined over the course of multi-dimensional diplomatic negotiations. But Musk is right that if things in Ukraine continue along their present course, the United States and Russia are headed toward a collision that could have catastrophic consequences for all parties to the conflict and for the world. And he is right that America's approach to this mounting problem requires an urgent adjustment. How many of you agree with that? Musk appears to grasp what the Biden administration does not, that Putin is not following the script we've written for him in Ukraine. That script involves a calculation of costs and benefits that will lead him to back away from confrontation with the United States and NATO. Musk has done much to help Ukraine defend itself against Russia's invasion. Now he is doing Ukraine, the United States, and the world a service in highlighting the need for a diplomatic track to accompany the military pushback we've employed so far against Russia in Ukraine. Confronting Putin with a choice between humiliation and nuclear escalation is a formula for disaster. Seems to me to be a pretty sensible and intelligent opinion.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is a unique figure. Part Jobs, part Trump with his outspoken populist tendencies, part Branson with his ability to understand marketing. He is a peculiar creature of our times. No doubt an innovator, and on the personal contact that I've had with him, he seems like a pretty good person, and I'm very excited to have him on our show. How does he dominate the news space? Because he has the power to openly speak and not be afraid of censorship, and because he has the platform through Twitter to reach a lot of people. We are doing the work of the censors in trying to prohibit and inhibit Elon Musk. He is an unusual and idiosyncratic figure, and he is a billionaire, and I suppose therefore you could make the arguments you could make against anyone with that much wealth and power, and those are arguments that I would certainly like the chance to present to Elon Musk in person. But as for this issue in the Ukraine, I guess he invites us to consider, what do you really mean when you say you support the Ukraine? Do you support the Ukraine up to the point of nuclear Armageddon? If that's where you are, then I admire you. Myself, I would prefer a diplomatic solution. I would prefer an end to all suffering through war. I pray that we are at the point in our personal and social evolution where we are beyond that kind of unnecessary, pointless conflict that only benefits elite institutions and establishment figures and ultimately causes more and more suffering. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think in the chat.
Yeah, facts, man. Like, I really feel like, for me, when it comes to the war in Ukraine, a diplomatic solution is way, way better than an Armageddon. Like, I don't want to die, breathing toxic fumes because some two people, a comedian and a strong president didn't agree. Like, come on. At a certain point, you have to chat this up and see what's the best solution. Save the people of Ukraine. Let's end this war. Let's go back to where we were before we all started. And we all live happily ever after, man. Like, come on. What's wrong with people? What are your thoughts? How do you think this war will end? And do you see it coming to an end anytime soon? Or do you think it will end and then 5 years later we're back at it? With that said, I'll see you guys in the next.